Hey guys, welcome to Whiskey and Literature. I'm your host, Captain Mike, and tonight we're talking about the whiskey. We're talking about an American single malt again. Jim Beam in the house with an American single malt. I went to the distillery recently in Kentucky. I went there to buy their single barrel Jim Beam. That was my goal. Ended up buying 5 bottles, spent over $600 on whiskey at the distillery, including got 2 American single malts, and this is one of them. So let's talk about this whiskey and the specs and stats of this American single malt and why it even exists, and then let's get to it. So American single malt is a small niche of the overall whiskey market in the United States. It's been around for decades and decades, mostly with, say, let's say craft or smaller distilleries, Stranahan's, Westward, Virginia Distillery. High West jumped into the foray with their High Country in 2020. But really, it's not been any of the mega distilleries that have been distilling and producing American single malt. Jack Daniel's produces an American single malt, but as far as I know, correct me if I'm wrong, but that is only in their triple mash. I've not seen it as a standalone product. Maybe they're still developing it, figuring out what to do with that exactly. And it is kind of a niche market, so maybe Jack Daniel's is just passing on that. But if you know, is there a Jack Daniel's American single malt in the market? I'm not aware of it. But Jim Beam jumped into the fight this year with their Claremont Steep. This was developed under the guidance or under the direction of Freddie No, their 8th master distiller. So when I was in Kentucky, I bought a bottle of this and I bought a bottle of this. What I think is that this Distiller Share Batch 2 from Jim Beam is a stronger version of Claremont Steep that they're just kind of playing with and experimenting and seeing what turns out. So what I think is that Jim Beam wants to get into the American single malt. Claremont Steep is going, and this is all my supposition and conjecture. I have no information on this other than what we went to an event here in the Tampa Bay. Freddie No came stumping for the Claremont Steep. So I think from what he said to me or to the group as a whole, I think what I took away from that is they want to grow the American single malt market. Claremont Steep is going to be the base of that, and they're going to do other stuff with it. Like imagine a Claremont Steep barrel strength or 100 proof. This is 94 proof, I believe. I don't have my glasses on. This is 94 proof. This is aged 60 months in oak cask. And I think this is going to be the base. So you can do other stuff with this. You can age it or finish it in port cask, sherry cask, cognac cask, rum cask. Do other stuff with it. Mix it in. Jack Daniel's has their triple mash. High West has their campfire. Jim Beam could do with their rye, do with their bourbon, and mix some of the American single malt and make their own triple mash campfire style whiskey. So I think this is going to be the base of that, and this is probably one of those experiments. This is called Distillers Share Batch 2. Let's talk about the specs and stats of this. This is an American single malt, toast and char level 1, distilled in Claremont, aged in white American white oak and French oak barrels. So this is an interesting whiskey. So this is 65% of this is aged for 44 months in American white oak cask. 17% it's finished in Courvoisier VSOP cask for 66 months old, and 18% is finished in Courvoisier XO cask, 66 months old as well. 109 proof. This is a 375 milliliter bottle. Pretty sure it's a distillery only product. And I did pay $70 for that. For example, this Claremont Steep full size bottle for $7.50, and I paid $59.99 for that. $70 for half. I mean, so I expect nice things from this whiskey. But I think we're going to see more and more of these distillery products, and you're going to see this kind of experimenting, and then maybe what does well or what they think about this, you're going to see in the stores next to just the regular Claremont Steep. And I bought my Claremont Steep in Kentucky, took the trouble to buy it there, transport it down here because I'd never seen it on the shelf here, and now my eyes of course see it. So everywhere, Total Wine, all the stores now, Claremont Steep on the shelves at MSRP. So no big deal. But Distiller Share, batch 2, finishing Cognac cask. So I'm 50 years old. I've been drinking now for 5 years, and I've never had any Cognac. So we're doing this now as we have whiskeys that are finished in sherry cask, port cask, Madeira wine cask, Sauternes cask, Cognac cask. And so we bought some Sauternes wine, we bought some Madeira wine. Again, never had any Cognac. About to drink a Cognac finished whiskey. So on the way home from work the other day, and this was finished in Courvoisier XO and Courvoisier VSOP cask. So I was gonna buy a bottle of each. Again, never had any of that. They didn't have the Courvoisier XO, they had the XO Royal, and that was like 330 bucks. So I just kind of moved on from that. But I did get a bottle of the Courvoisier VSOP Cognac, and never had it. I'm gonna open this, take a pour of this, see what I think about it, and then I'm gonna have a pour of the Distiller Share here and see if I can't pick out this note in that bottle. I'm gonna have a little small pour of the Claremont Steep, because I do think this is Claremont Steep, just a little younger and a higher proof version, and finished obviously in Cognac cask. So actually we're gonna take a pour of the Claremont Steep here while we're opening the Cognac. How about you? Have you had any Cognac? I was talking to a friend yesterday, telling him about the Distiller Share and how I was gonna buy some Cognac. And he's been drinking for many decades, a little bit younger than I am, but drinking for many decades, mostly Evan Williams. And he said he has never even himself had any Cognac. So I don't really know what to expect. I don't even really know what Cognac is. I think it's like a brandy, and I don't know what brandy is either. So Cognac, I think, is a brandy from the Cognac region in France, probably. I don't even know what to expect. I think it's a fortified wine. Like in my mind, I expect it to be rich and sweet, red fruits and some florals, and that's really what I expect. I don't really know what I'm getting myself into. Again, this is Courvoisier VSOP, $39.99 for this bottle. It is 40 ABV. I don't know anything else about it. Nothing. It has the calories and carbs on the back of this. I've never seen that on a whiskey bottle. Okay, cool. Let's open that up. I've had a couple glasses of brandy. I think it was kind of like homemade brandy, or it was brandy that was, it was like in a mason jar at somebody's house. They had some fruits and berries or something in there with it. It was really yummy. But anyway. Wow, that was nice. Smells rich. Wow, I'm looking forward to it. So, Claremont Steep, again from Jim Beam. I had some of this. I've had a pour of Claremont Steep for the past few nights. I do like the whiskey. It hits me with a little bit of spice, some peppery notes. Oh, there's some grains in there, and I can't believe I'm going to say a slight banana note or a sweet note in there, actually, which I didn't get at all last night. Man, but it would hit me and then was gone. But it's still a bit of that spice just kind of coating my mouth overall. I like Claremont Steep. I've been through, well, half a bottle now, almost. It's a nice pour of whiskey. I opened 3 American single malts last night, had some pours. Claremont Steep wasn't my preferred, it was Stranahan's, but anyway. How about you? How many American single malts have you had? I feel like I talk to guys as I am at work and my friends, and bourbons, of course, they're familiar with, and rye whiskeys, most of them. In American single malts, I've not talked to anyone who's knowingly tried an American single malt, or tried an American single malt and knew exactly what that it was an American single malt, which I'm not surprised. I mean, when I was drinking the first bottle of High West High Country, I just bought it because I like High West, didn't really understand what it was, and drank a whole bottle without even understanding what is an American single malt. So it's pretty easy to do. A lot of the guys that I talk with, they're not whiskey nerds, so they don't know what a mash bill is. They don't know what's inside. Maybe they know that bourbon's at least 51% corn. I think everyone's kind of familiar with that who drinks, but they wouldn't be able to tell you that an American single malt The proposed definition for that is 100% malted barley. They would have no clue. Okay. Cognac. First taste of cognac, 50 years old. Cheers. Wow, it's like, again, man, that's like rich. It reminds me of a port wine or something really rich, deep notes. You know, guys use the word smooth, or you're trying to avoid using the word smooth when you're talking about whiskeys, but oh, there was like a floral medicinal note, reminding me maybe of a perhaps like a cough medicine almost, just that kind of sweet cloying note that you get when you're drinking like a cough syrup. It's kind of a dull note. There's no hint of spice or those kicks that you get on the ryes, and that honestly I get on the American, on the Claremont Steep here. I'm not getting really any of that. It feels just like a real viscous mouthfeel, like a real thick red wine. I feel like a cherry note, just real subdued cherry note. I'm a fan. I mean, this is a $39 cognac. They had it locked up. It's Courvoisier. I think that's why they have it locked up. I would drink more of that. But anyway, see if we can get that note here in this Distiller share. There's a screw. So it is a screw top. Whoops. Oh. So I've had another distillery only product. We visited Jack Daniel's last year, and while we were there, I bought their straight Tennessee rye whiskey finished in high toast oak barrels, 50.5% ABV. Yeah, this I think is a great smelling whiskey. I think that's one of the great things about going to distilleries and doing these tours. You know, Maker's Mark, I didn't see any of that, but I went to Peerless Distillery in Kentucky as well, and they had some distillery-only products that you could get there. And when we were at the Vigo Distillery up in Pittsburgh, also they had some distillery-only products, Jack Daniel's distillery-only products, and Jim Beam. So it's kind of worth your time if you're a whiskey nerd. If you like these sort of things, trying new whiskeys that you can only get at the distillery. Though actually, I saw that Jack Daniel's distillery only series. I saw it at the Nashville airport one day. I keep looking for it when I go through the Nashville airport. In fact, I went there early last month. I was thinking, oh, I'm going to grab a couple bottles of that from the store. And of course, they didn't have any when I went back and was looking for it. But it's nice being able to kind of like a reward, being able to go to the distillery and pick up these kinds of products. And I think, again, this is an experiment from Jim Beam. They make these products, see how they do, how do they turn out. And they probably, I don't know, I'm not even gonna guess how many different iterations they made, how many barrels of these different whiskeys they blended, you know, in these bottles to try different things until they got to this one. 65% finished in, are just aged and finished in American oak, 17%. So 35% of this distillates in here was finished in different cognac casks. So I'm sure this wasn't the first experiment they did. They've done a lot of different things. Like I said, I'm excited to see what they do in the future. I'm a fan of the Claremont Steep, and you know, I've been impressed from what I've heard from Freddie No, what he's been saying, and I'm looking forward to what they're doing here in the future. So again, Jim Beam, impressing me. Cheers. Oh, man, it's like the Claremont Steep, but muted. Just a hint of that cognac note. Or maybe more than a hint on that third one. Okay, so a little too close that time. I think this is a nice way to do it. Taste the Claremont Steep, taste the cognac, and then nose this, and we're gonna taste it in just a second here. Because I'm getting that, I mean, it's obviously super familiar in my brain right now. I still have the taste in my mouth and in my nose, and man, I'm really catching it on there. So same red notes, it just imparts this sweetness that is missing from the Claremont Steep. Well, it's pretty sweet actually as well. It's just a different kind of sweet. There's no hints of those red fruits. I like this. It's a really nice nose. Okay, 109 proof. That's a pretty good proof. I have whiskeys that are well beyond that. This is hitting pretty good. It's well beyond the proof, of course, of the Claremont Steep, 15 proof higher. And that's very noticeable off the bat. You still get that same spice that you're getting from the Claremont Steep, just a little more of it, and with that proof bite. Got some alcohol, but it's not unpleasant at all. It's just saying, here I am. I'm 109 proof, and I'm here for you. Again, it's a really nice nose. I felt like the Claremont Steep last night when I was having it side by side with the Stranahan's Original and the High Country. It was a little bit thinner than the other two whiskeys, and I feel like the Cognac, the finishing maybe helps that a little bit. It's got a nicer mouthfeel tonight. Maybe that's just a higher proof, less water, and so it's just a little slightly more viscous. I think it's the Claremont Steep, but better. It has some just slight amount of that red fruit note. It's really nice and light on the nose. The nose doesn't really let you know what's about to hit you when you drink it. And it's a lot more aggressive on the palate than on the nose. It is a brighter nose than the Claremont Steep, but you don't really get any hint of that fire that's coming at you when you sip it. It's that same pepper note that I was getting on the Claremont Steep, with just, again, some underlying, like some red fruits and just a hint of floral notes in there. It's very nice. I'm a big fan of, well, I've only had two, unless you count the Peerless Distillery, their absinthe finished rye. This is the distillery only product, and the Jack Daniels, those are the only two distillery only products that I've had, and I'm a fan of those because they're kind of an experiment for the distillers. They're kind of putting out these experiments. They're trying out and seeing how is it received, I think, in the general public, and seeing where can they take their whiskey next. I think that's pretty exciting. So I would advise, if you are in Kentucky, or if you happen to see one of these in some stores somewhere, I would definitely pick it up. I do like it more than the Claremont Steep. It just has more complexity. It has more body to it, and obviously more proof. I think 109 proof is a really good proof. I'm happy to drink higher proof whiskeys and way lower proof as well. I think 109 is a really excellent proof. You can drink it neat very easily, and it's not going to just blow you away. But this whiskey is really nice. Congratulations to Freddie No and their team. I think they've got a great product here. I'm excited to see what happens with the Claremont Steep and the American Single Malt line of Jim Beam in the future. I do hope they do a triple mash type situation at Jim Beam as well, because I do really like Campfire. I wish High West would take their High Country instead of doing the Scotch in their single malt or in their Campfire. Do the High Country with your rye and your bourbon, and I think Jim Beam should do the same. I think that would be a hit for them. And I bet Freddie No has been thinking about that. So, because I know he mentioned that they do a lot of data research. They look at all the competitors, and they have all these data points on all the American single malts that are in the market, and they're constantly doing testing. And so I think that's great. Anyway, my guys, $70 for this 375 bottle. That is pretty steep, no pun intended, but I think this is worth it. I really enjoy this whiskey, and if you have a chance to get a pour, I think you should. And that's all I have for tonight, my guys. I hope you're reading something good and drinking something great. Turn those pages, my friends, and stay thirsty. Cheers.